Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Run in the Paint recap. Hope you guys all had a fantastic Mother's Day yesterday. At the end of Mother's Day, we had a couple of huge game fours here in the second round of the NBA playoffs. In a day where coming into it, these two game fours, I thought that it was a must win situation for really all four of the teams taking place in the games here today. Just they were incredibly important. And some of the teams showed up, and one of them really did not. We are going to get into all of that here today. Before I get started, make sure you leave a like on the video, subscribe for more NBA playoff content. Every single weekday, we're doing these recaps about the NBA playoffs. And then on Tuesday and Friday mornings at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, we have the full Run in the Paint podcast where we're covering all things playoffs and so much more. And then in the description down below, you can skip ahead to the game that you want to hear me talk about more if you so choose. But let's get into these games, man. I think let's go in the order in which they took place. So Sunday afternoon, we had game four between Oklahoma City and Denver coming off of game three, where Denver and OKC went into overtime after a very back and forth battle. And then the Thunder just ran out of gas. Denver absolutely blitzed them in overtime. So coming into this game, do or die, not really a do or die situation, but as close to it as possible, right? I mean, if you're OKC, don't want to go down 3 games to one. If you're Denver, you don't want to, get the advantage of winning one on the road and then giving the home court advantage right back up by losing game four and going back to OKC tied at two. So it was going to be a huge, game for both teams. And it didn't really seem like either team really knew that it was a big game to start off with because neither team could shoot for anything to start the game. It was tied for the lowest scoring first quarter in postseason history. The score was 17-8 OKC after 12 minutes. The Thunder shot 6 for 22 from the field, 1 for 11 from three. They had four turnovers, and somehow they were still up nine with those numbers because Denver was 2 for 22 from the field, 0 for 14 from three, with five turnovers. And with those numbers, they were only down by 9 points because the defense was showing out to start in this game. I mean, the rebounds, we had 33 combined rebounds in the first quarter because only 8 of 44 shooting took place in the first quarter. Absolutely incredible. I mean, some of the stretches in the first quarter were just comical because neither team could really score. From all areas, from three, from even mid-range, from even right at the basket. There were a lot of guys missing layups here to start. But OKC's defense really stood out in the first quarter, and that's why Denver got off to this really, really slow start because no one could get going. Michael Porter has another rough game, but it started out in the first quarter. Had to All of the shot attempts he got off were pretty difficult. A couple of them were air balls. Russell Westbrook really struggled once he got into the game. And I mean, OKC's players really struggled as well. I mean, this wasn't really a big standout game. If you take a look at the box score, there weren't a whole lot of standout star performances across the board. But after that first quarter, things did start to pick up a little bit in the second quarter. We had actual scoring. The Nuggets were able to get some threes to go down finally, near the end of the half. I mean, these two teams started off, I think they started off 1 for 18 from three. It was absolutely unbelievable. But the reason why Denver was really able to get back into this game was because of the foul line. They kept getting fouled and they kept getting on the free throw line. And they got in the bonus early in the second quarter, which was such a huge thing. And it was mainly Christian Brown that was getting to the line to start off the game in the first half. And that was just so important because Denver was able to hang in the game despite going 2 for 22 or whatever they did in the first quarter, because they were able to just score, buckets at the free throw line and just slowly claw their way back in. And slowly but surely, they did. Jokic, got to the free throw line to end the second quarter. He had 11 points in the second period, and OKC's offense didn't look that good once again. It got a little bit stagnant, and a lot of guys were missing open shots, and Denver was just making it very difficult. So in the third quarter, by the time we got to the third quarter, Denver was the team that was on a roll. There were a few times in the third quarter and to start the fourth quarter where Denver had a chance to extend this lead to double digits, um, and try to put the game away. The key moments I remember were around like the 5 minute mark of the third quarter where Denver goes up by 5 after Jamal Murray hits a 3. They have a 6-point lead. And, the crowd at Ball Arena is going crazy. Jamal Murray just like, "Come on. Come on." He's going crazy. Everyone's going crazy there in Denver because, I mean, they all knew how big this game was, after that rough start. I mean, if they were able to go up 3-1 on this number 1 seed OKC team, that would have been huge, for this series. But OKC, as has been the case all season, when the top of their roster struggles a little bit, they were able to get performances from their bench that saved them. Cason Wallace and Aaron Wiggins, they made huge plays near the end of the third quarter and in the fourth quarter to allow OKC to claw back into the game when it looked like Denver could go on a run to make it a double digit lead. Aaron Wiggins and Cason Wallace, whether it was hitting corner threes off of penetration, whether it was creating second chance opportunities for one another, just were able to. They were the only players that had it going consistently offensively for Oklahoma City. Um, you know, Wiggins had 11, Wallace had 11 off the bench, and those points were the most valuable points of this game. With just the state of the game. Caruso was huge in the first half. He was the only player that could hit a couple threes in the first half for the Thunder. But those role players were so huge for OKC. And once again, Denver, after kind of getting their three ball going a little bit in the second and third quarter, go ice cold once again in the fourth quarter. I mean, in the fourth quarter, they scored just 18 points, 7 for 23 from the field, 1 for 12 from downtown. The only make was the wild Aaron Gordon bank shot at the end of the game. But that's just not going to cut it. I mean, in this important game in the fourth quarter, you go 1 for 12 from three. First quarter, you go 0 for 14. 1 for 26 from 3 in the first and fourth quarters against this good a team is not good enough. It's not good enough. So when it came down to crunch time, in the final minutes, because we had another close game, it was OKC making the plays. Whether it was, I mean, Wallace and Wiggins knocking down threes. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander finally got his mid-range game going in the final 4 to 5 minutes. Jalen Williams, who had a really big struggle of a game. My goodness. I think he went 2 for 15, 2 for 13 from the field, 0 for 5 from three. Another rough game shooting wise for Jalen Williams, coming off of the great game three. But he had a very strong dribble drive finish with his left hand. While it was only his second bucket of the game, it was a huge one to keep the Thunder's lead, a two possession lead against this Nuggets team that continued to struggle offensively against this Thunder defense. And to make matters worse, was in the fourth quarter, Denver was still getting to the free throw line at a pretty, decent rate, but they started missing free throws. They started missing free throws. When Shea Gilgeous-Alexander made his back-to-back buckets, I believe nearly right after that, we had back-to-back possessions where Jokic and Aaron Gordon go to the free throw line and they go 1 for 4 combined, just missing free throws. And that, it's a make or miss league. Sometimes it's a make or miss call type of league. A make or miss substitution by a coach, but the very basis of it, a make or miss league, shooting the basketball, and Denver could not get their shots to go in the first and fourth quarters, and Oklahoma City was able to take advantage. I mean, just the shooting across the board. I already mentioned Michael Porter. Another game, he has 3 points in 34 minutes. Jokic, while he has 27 points, 13 rebounds, 7 for 22 from the field, 2 for 8 from three. His 3-point shot has ditched him over the last week or so. Jamal Murray goes just 5 for 15. Westbrook, who has been good, just 2 for 12 from the field. Christian Brown just 4 for 11. Just across the board, offensively, they really couldn't get anything going. It was really just Aaron Gordon sometimes, but his impact was really on the rebounding side of this game and the defense at certain points. Just a huge win for Oklahoma City. I mean, down the stretch, this is the second straight year they're in this situation where they're down 2-1 on the road in the second round. Last year it was to Dallas. This year it's to Denver. And both seasons, it's looking like, all right, Dallas is up double digits. This year, Denver has a chance to go on a run. And this young, inexperienced for the most part OKC team, they're the youngest team in the playoffs. Um, they're able to find a way to even up the series heading back to OKC for game five, which sets up obviously a pivotal game five in this series. We'll see if the Thunder have learned from their experience that they had last year against Dallas, winning the crucial game four, but then losing game five at home, trailing early and not being able to close the deal. We'll see if they'll be able to, remedy that situation from last year. But overall, impressive performance by OKC on the defensive end. Hold this team to just 87 points and not allow really anyone to get it going. And on a night where, it's not like, again, it's not like OKC had a very strong night. I mentioned J-Dub had 2 for 13 shooting. He just had 10 points. Holmgren 8 points, Hartenstein 8 points, Lou Dort 6 points on 2 for 10 3-point shooting. He's lost his 3-point shot as well. You know, on a night you shoot 35% from the field, 24% from 3, and you get a huge road win. These are the type of games that you need to win. These are the type of games that you need to win, and OKC was able to do it finally after losing the other two close games of this series, games 1 and 3. Denver now has to go to OKC and try to steal another one on the road. Um, Tough pill to swallow if you're Denver because again, even with the garbage first quarter and even the garbage fourth quarter shooting, they still had a chance. They still had a chance down the stretch. It was a 1 to 2 possession game for, all the close times, crunch time in the fourth quarter, excuse me. And unable to win this game. So OKC evening up the series, heading back to OKC. Well, now let's go to the second game, which was not as competitive, or not even competitive for a little bit. Game 4 of the Cleveland Indiana series. Man, man. Obviously, I mean, for those who are just watching for the first time, I'm a Cavs fan. My podcast co-hosts Nick and Joey are also Cavs fans, and man, the roller coaster ride of what a couple hours can do to you. I was feeling great coming into this game after the Cavs got a huge victory in Game 3, and then Indiana just completely dominated. There's no other way around it. They absolutely dominated in every single facet of the game. Rebounding, passing, turnovers, defense, shooting. They did it all, man. They did it all in the first quarter, second quarter. Absolutely unbelievable. And Indiana now has a 3-1 lead as they take game 4 129 to 109. I mean, I'm just so impressed with how the Pacers played. Once again, man, coming after that game 3 loss on Friday where they didn't have the physicality that they had in the first 2 games. They got out rebounded by 18 in game 3. They were turning it over. They weren't able to hit shots. For them to come out right from the jump, they forced a turnover on the very first play. And for them to just go nuclear from 3, absolutely ridiculous. Like, I cannot remember the last time I saw a performance on both ends of the floor in a playoff game that was this dominant. I mean, Indiana to start the game, I mean, they forced a turnover, they hit a 3, and that was a pretty good, you know, look ahead of what was to come for Cleveland, as that was an absolute nightmare of a first half. I mean, they scored 3 field goals, 3 2-point field goals in the entire first half. They shoot 25%, 5 for 19 from 3. They had 14 turnovers in the first half compared to just 8 made field goals, 3 assists, while Indiana has 25 assists. um, they shoot 60% from the field, 12 for 18 from 3. I mean, they had 80 points in the first half. It was 80 to 39 in the first half. It was absolutely an unbelievable performance across the board from the Indiana Pacers. In the first quarter, it was kind of just an all across the board performance. And then in the second quarter, to start it off, it was Pascal Siakam, who's had a very quiet series. He really stepped up in the second quarter, knocked down some threes and mid rangers to extend the 15-point lead up to 26 or whatever to start the second quarter. And then the surge to end the first half on a like 19-2 run where Miles Turner can't miss a three, 18 first half points, 4 for 4 from three. Neesmith can't miss a shot. He has that crazy buzzer beater to end the half. Obi Toppin with the crazy Dr. J reverse layup, 45 years to the day. You have Thomas Bryant hitting a three. You had everything going right for this Pacers team, besides the Benedict Mathurin, DeAndre Hunter thing, which we should talk about. I mean, that's probably the most compelling thing to talk about from this game was this altercation. It's something that has been brewing throughout the entire series. In game one, DeAndre Hunter, he sprained his right wrist off of the Matherin chase down block that could have been a foul, whatever. In game three, they're talking smack or whatever. Game four, Matherin gives the little forearm shimmy to the sternum of Hunter. Hunter pushes back. I'm shocked that Hunter didn't get ejected. I don't know if Matherin should have gotten ejected either. But whatever happened, it gave the Pacers even more life than they already had gained to start the game. I mean, they were already up by 12 at that point. I believe it was 22-10 at that point. And then they just continued to surge. They continued to surge. And a lot is going to be made about, the Cavs, performance, or maybe lack thereof in this first half. But I don't want to, that to take away from how great the Indiana Pacers have played. I mean, they've been absolutely lights out. I know Nick and I were saying on the podcast after games one and two, and their first round series against Milwaukee, man, they can't continue to keep shooting as lights out as this. But this is just who the Indiana Pacers are. This is just who they are. I mean, this is what you got. This is what they are at this point. I mean, they're unbelievable. The way they play offensively, fast pace, and then the ability to just full court press the entire game. It feels like a high school team when you're playing the Indiana Pacers. They've just been so impressive, and now they've pushed the number one seeded Cavs to the brink of elimination. I mean, I think there is. I should mention, the Cavs' performance. I mean, they just did not come out with any sort of force, energy, really effort. I mean, nothing was going their way from the very start, and it was made that way. I mean, even after the first quarter, where it was a 15-point game, I was thinking to myself, man, we're lucky to only be down by 15 points. I mean, with the way the Pacers have been playing, eventually when it got up to a 40-point game at halftime, I'm like, all right, this is how it should have been from the very start because this is just how the Pacers came out playing, and this is how the Cavaliers have come out, looking. I mean, it was it was slightly similar to Game Four of Denver OKC, where Denver couldn't hit a shot at all to start the game, but they scored points at the free throw line. That's basically what Cleveland did to start the game. I mean, they exclusively got points from the free throw line to start the game. But besides that, really not a lot of great takeaways from this game. And then you have Donovan Mitchell, the ankle injury suffered coming out for the second half for warmups, making the nightmare even worse for the Cavaliers. We'll see what his status is going into Game Five. Hoping it isn't anything, obviously too serious. Now that the Cavs are on the brink here, just all these guys they just didn't come out at all. I mean, Jared Allen, 2 points, 0 for 1 from the field, 2 rebounds. Mobley made the first 3 of the game, finished with 10. Most of those came in the third quarter. Donovan Mitchell only had 12 points in the first half that he played in. And he's also played unbelievable. I mean, he deserves, a little bit of grace because he's been absolutely fantastic. He averaged 41 through the first 3 games. Hunter didn't make a field goal. I mean, the bench for Cleveland didn't make a field goal in the first half. You're not gonna be in a game if that's the case. And if you rely on your bench, kind of like the Cavaliers do, I mean, they play a very deep rotation. And again, no one had it going. I mean, only sort of bright spot was in the second half. Darius Garland, who missed, the 4 straight playoff games with a toe injury, then looked rough in game 3 in the first half of game 4. Started to get a little bit of rhythm, looked a little bit more shifty in the third quarter. He finished with 21 points. He got to the free throw line. He had some nice finishes, right at the basket. Um, but besides that, you know, very disappointing performance from the Cavaliers, especially considering what had happened in the first 2 games. And this is what I was saying in our group chat, and kind of what I was worried about after the first 2 games of this series. The first 2 games in Cleveland, the Cavs lose both games. Game 1, they didn't play their best game, but it was very winnable. It was a clutch game in the end, and they had a chance to win it. Game 2, they're up the whole game. They have a 7-point lead with 40 seconds to go. They should close it out. Losing 2 winnable games that you play, very solid basketball prevents you from having the leeway to have any stinkers like this, because now, instead of this loss, obviously, it would stink, obviously, but it would be a 2-2 series heading back to Cleveland, when you have 2 of the 3 final games at home. Instead, now you're down 3-1, which everyone's going to be against the Cavaliers, rightfully so. I still think there is a slim chance, because this team has bounced back very, very well throughout the course of the season. They will not go down without a fight in that game. I'd be shocked, especially at home, if they, threw up another stinker like this. But obviously, it's going to be a tough one, to win 3 straight games against this talented of a Pacers team, who's playing like the best team in the playoffs. They are playing like the best team in the playoffs. They are now 7-1 in the playoffs, and they really haven't had any stinker games besides Game 3 of this Cavaliers series. So shout out to the Pacers for just playing, so fantastic. I mean, it's going to be easy for people to, ridicule the Cavs of their lack of energy to start the game, and there is definitely truth to that. I'm not they There's no excuse at this point for not having the focus and the attention to start a huge game like this. But Pacers came out after the game 3 loss. They upped their level to a whole they upped their game to a whole nother level, and Cleveland could never recover. They never got it until, it was already too late. So there are the 2 results from yesterday. OKC evening up their series with Denver, and Indiana pushing Cleveland to the brink of elimination. Tonight we've got the other 2 game 4s, but also we have the 2025 NBA draft lottery at 7 o'clock on ESPN. You see there all the teams with a chance for the number 1 overall pick. You've got Utah, Washington, and Charlotte all with the best odds at getting that number 1 pick at 14%. And then the other teams there, the Spurs have 2 opportunities. They have 2 lottery picks in there with the Pelicans, Sixers, Nets, and Raptors also near the top there. And then we have the 2 big game 4s. We have game 4 between Jason Tatum and the Celtics versus Jalen Brunson and the Knicks. The Celtics, with that huge response in game 3 in MSG, were finally able to get their 3-point shot going back through. So we'll see how New York can respond in a huge game. I mean, after taking the first 2 games in Boston, do not want to give both games back up to the defending champs. And then at 10 p.m. On ESPN, Game 4 between Anthony Edwards and the Wolves, and Jimmy Butler of the Warriors, with Minnesota leading 2 games to 1 after their close victory in Game 3. Of course, no Steph Curry. This is do or die time for the Golden State Warriors. But that's all for me. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed, leave a like, subscribe for more NBA postseason content. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll catch you in the next one.